Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to stop toddlers from screaming and crying. Now, regardless of where you stand as far as parenting style, maybe you are more laid back, strict, there's so many different variables you could go in. Regardless, having a child that is screaming at you or crying at you when you don't understand the reason and you don't know why, that's going to be completely honest, annoying and frustrating for us as the parent. So how do we deal with that? How do we stop them from crying? How do we stop them from screaming? The first thing that I'm going to point out is, regardless of what our philosophy, our parenting philosophy may be, screaming and crying are both forms of communication. They are ways that if you think of a brand new infant baby, if they need something, they're going to cry. Toddlers, preschoolers, children, all of that, crying and screaming is a form of communication for them, for us. I mean, we cry, we scream, we get mad. That's just a form of communication. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's acceptable for us either. So what are some things that we can do to stop that from happening or to combat that when it does happen? And the first point or tip that I want to share and give is to be paying attention to your child's cues. Generally speaking, a child's first response for attention is not to scream and cry, unless they are hungry, tired, their routine's out of whack. We talk a lot about those basic needs. But generally speaking, screaming and crying is not a child's first response to things. Now, unless, they're tired or something like that. Often for a lot of toddlers and preschoolers, the screaming and crying has kind of become the thing that they've learned gets them the attention. So they've kind of picked up that, we may not see them or respond to them right away, so they need to scream first or cry first or scream at us to get attention the way that they want the attention. Typically speaking, the reason that they're screaming and crying like this in the first place is going to stem from one of two paths, and that's going to be a need not being met. And we talk about this a lot. Are they hungry? Are they tired? Do they, is there part of the routine that's not being understood? Something like that. Or the other segue is it's a learned behavior. They've learned that to get our attention that they need that screaming or crying or escalated behavior to get a response from us. So that's why when we can pay attention to our child's cues, that can be really helpful to stop the screaming and the crying in its tracks. This is not drop everything and stare solely at your child 24/7. That's not what we're doing. But this is becoming more mindful that, to what's going on in our day, or being more mindful of the fact that, well, yes, I might be on my phone talking to somebody. If my child comes up to me and taps on me, clearly wanting something, a lot of us, without even realizing it, have a tendency to just kind of go play, go on, and just kind of brush it off without really paying attention. So there's really nothing wrong with saying, 1 second, hang on, and finishing up what you're doing here, or breaking. The majority of people, like if you're on the phone with somebody, if you're talking to somebody, if you're working, whatever, most people are going to be much more appreciative to, can you please hold for 1 second, than in 30 seconds hearing a child screaming in your background because you didn't respond to the arm touch or the, mama, mama, whatever. Most people are going to be way more sympathetic, more laid back, and they don't even really get that upset about having to wait a second or be put on hold or to, whatever. I try to respond to the child at their level in both the way that I'm speaking to them, but also in the way that I'm addressing them and looking at them. I try very hard to communicate on their level. So maybe that is I'm at eye level with them. I'm lowering myself. I'm sitting down next to them. You do the bend over and talk to them to show them that you're here and you're focusing on them, looking down on them. We all do it. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but if your child is going through the screaming, crying phase, getting down on their level is going to be super helpful for you and for them, because you're going to kind of level your playing field a little bit more so that you can actually have the conversation at eye level. Think of us as adults. We feel better talking to somebody and typically have deeper, more meaningful conversations when somebody is looking directly at us, directly at our eye level, giving us their full attention, than say, we're sitting down somewhere and somebody is standing next to us and looking around all over the place or getting on their phone or whatever. We tend to be more open, and that's the same with our children. When we can show them that we're on their level, we understand, like we're talking to them, we're communicating with them, we're literally face to face. Those are some things that are going to really help drive that home, so that when they are starting that screaming or crying thing, to instantly get down on that level is going to help them be like, oh, you're here, we're having a conversation, there's connection building, there's it's healthy, it's yeah. Mm-hmm. So when we get down on their level and they see us and we're right there, we have that face-to-face going on, it kind of like registers with them, like, oh, you're here, you're focusing on me, you're giving me the attention, you're paying attention to me. And we as adults, we feel really connected to people when they do that to us, to just like when we know that we have someone's full attention. Toddlers are the same way, preschoolers are the same way, children the same way. So they really respond to us being on their level, face to face, eye contact, all that stuff is huge to them. The other thing I want to just kind of leave you guys with here is emotions are okay. We get mad, we get angry, we get, our feelings get hurt, we get disappointed. So I don't care that a child gets mad and wants to scream. I don't care that the child is crying. Those are normal reactions, normal responses. The thing we want to be working on though here is, how can we create healthy ways for our children to express emotions, okay? We don't want to say, no screaming, no crying. We really just want to say, hey, let's talk about it in this way. Let's format it in this way. We want to help them learn positive ways to handle their emotions. So if I'm noticing that a toddler is screaming and crying a lot, I'm not necessarily going to be upset that they're screaming and crying. What I want to work on instead is, what are healthy, positive ways that I can help this child express their emotions. I have several resources and videos here that go into more detail on that. We also, in the description here, we have a link for cheat sheets. One of those cheat sheets is temper tantrums. I give you tips for what to do before the temper tantrum, after the temper tantrum, during the temper tantrum. We also have our Taming the Tantrum course coming out really soon, where I'm going to really dive in heavy on this point about creating positive ways for your child to express emotions and how you can help them with that. So please leave me a comment here. Tell me about one of the things that your toddler responds the best with as far as redirecting frustrations. Also subscribe to us here on YouTube, and be sure to come to our link here in the description where we will give you guys our free printable cheat sheets. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I will see you guys later. Bye.